So I don't live in Bangkok. I live about almost 200 kilometers from here in the countryside, and I have a small hermitage there. And so I just arrived. We just drove in. It's about 2 hour drive from my hermitage. So I'm happy to be able to see all of. How long have you been in Thailand? 13 days. Oh, wow. Uh-huh. On 6 going back. Okay. Mm-hmm. 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 And so have you been in Bangkok all the time, or have you been to other places? Mm. Yes, I will be in Bangkok for 2 days. Tomorrow there is a big award ceremony here in Bangkok also, and these are awards given to people doing good things in society. There is award for educators and award for people working in environmental field, and people striving for social justice, or people leading very quiet lives, but for the good of society. And so once a year there is an award ceremony here, and it will be on television afterwards. And so I'm invited, and I will give a talk at the end of the award ceremony to end the occasion. And then on Saturday, I will be giving a meditation retreat here for the teachers. So this is one of my responsibilities for the school, for the spiritual development, both of the staff and the pupils. So you must have seen very many interesting things, and some things a little different from what you're used to, and some things the same. I wonder, does anyone have any question or something they would like to ask about or discuss? Some observations you have made? Yeah. Well, this again is a big subject, so I'll maybe just give some general remarks about the underlying principles, because the methods vary, and there are the Theravada, the methods that we find used in monasteries and meditation centers in Thailand and Burma, and then somewhat different in Tibet or Bhutan or China or Japan, but the basic principles are the same. So if we understand the principles, then that will give us a way to evaluate the different techniques and define which are the most useful for us or for teaching the children. So the first point that we acknowledge is that our minds are out of control and that we suffer unnecessarily because we don't understand ourselves and because we've never learned how to train our minds. So it's if you had compared, you had an elephant or you had a horse in your house, but you never learned how to train the elephant or train the horse, and so you can never make any use of it for your livelihood. And maybe it can it just eats up a lot of food and also can cause problems for you. Now in our life we can see that there are so many problems already, economic problems and the macro level problems which we have only limited resources to deal with. If, for instance, if there is flooding like we had in Thailand, or there is some extreme bad weather, or there is some contagious illness, these are part of nature. And no matter how well we have trained our mind, we still have to experience these things. But we can make a distinction between pain and suffering. If someone has trained their mind very well, they can experience pain and discomfort when they get hot, when they get cold, if they have fever, if they have some illness or other. But mentally, they do not suffer. So we are training our minds in order to protect our minds, not allowing them to create the suffering unnecessarily. So the Buddha once said it's the difference between being shot with an arrow and being shot with a poison arrow. You know, so if you get shot with the arrow, it's already quite serious, but the poison makes it much worse. So our minds, we make the poison, and we make things much worse than they need to be. And this is just the habit, the nature of human beings who have never trained or educated their minds. So in an education context, we can see many times that the causes for failure in education are not intellectual causes. For instance, the child is very anxious, and when there's any kind of pressure for examination or for of any kind, the child becomes very worried, and so worried he can't or she can't write the correct answers. She makes a lot of mistakes because of anxiety. Other children becoming very depressed, and then when children are depressed, they have no energy, they have no interest in their studies, even though they might have a good IQ. Or if children are very angry and easily lose their temper and fight with other children, then they have few friends, and they don't enjoy going to school, and so they don't enjoy their studies. So we can see there are many emotional and non-intellectual influences on education and on our general well-being. Now usually these things have been part of our life, part of our personality since we were children. And we don't notice, we don't observe them, we just think that's who we are. But the Buddha said that if you look closely, you will find that there is not one single quality, whether it is a bad quality or a good quality, which is fixed and will always be there. Everything in our life is fluid. It's like a river, it's flowing all the time. And we have a choice of feeding the mental state or starving the mental state, if you like. So if we have a lot of anger and irritation or jealousy or depression or anxiety, then you see, this is our work. This is what we need to be able to deal with wisely and well. Now, the first step to be able to manage your feelings and emotions and thoughts wisely is to be aware of them in the present moment. Now, we spend so much of our lives either in the past or in the future that we have very little energy and wisdom left to deal with the problem in the present moment. You can see whenever we get unhappy or worried, maybe we think about some good thing in the past and we can feel better. Or sometimes we think, oh, it's terrible now, I'm very unhappy, but maybe next week everything will be okay, and oh, this will happen and that will happen. So when we suffer, our usual strategy is to use memory or imagination to try to forget the unhappiness or the suffering. And the Buddha said this maybe works short term, but in long term it makes things worse and our minds become very weak. So the meditation techniques the Buddha gave us are to enable us to see mental states as mental state, not as me and mine. So we say we don't identify with the mental state because we see it's just that. Thinking is just that. Feeling is just that. And so in meditation, we make our mind more like the sky. And so all the thoughts and worries and jealousies and all the thoughts, they just pass through the sky like clouds or birds or aeroplanes. And we don't identify with the bird or the plane. We say we make our mind like the sky. Now, how we do that is we take one particular object, and the object which is used in every Buddhist tradition and is very convenient is the breath, because we don't have to visualize anything special, we don't have to believe in anything, it's just using part of our existence that's always already there, but we focus on this. And the idea here is that when we focus on one thing, it's like we make the mind like a white background. If you have a white background, then anything that moves, you can see it very quickly and very clearly. And similarly, if you make the effort to keep your mind with the in-breath and the out-breath, then all the thoughts and imaginations and worries and desires and will appear against the screen